It is time for Making Connections, where we meet people right here in our community who make up the fabric of Korean society and hear their stories. Sometimes we have guests who come from overseas, and sometimes we have guests who are locals but also serve as an important bridge between Korea and the overseas community. And we are joined by one such guest today. To give a little bit of background, Korea is, of course, a trend-setting nation. And let's face it, we're really into our looks. We are obsessed, maybe even, some might say, with looking good. But in this time of the pandemic, the fashion industry has been disrupted in a major way, and the industry is having to reinvent itself. So to help us take a look at what's happening right now in the fashion industry and also give some insights into men's fashion, I'm very pleased to be joined in the studio by Alan Nam. He's a creative director, fashion consultant, columnist, and the founder of a multi-brand store, Allen's. Morning, Alan.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We've known each other for a couple of years in social settings, but yes, apparently this is your first time doing a radio interview. You've given many radios. So not only your first radio appearance, but also first English radio as well.
Right. I'm a little shy at the moment.
I think you'll get over your shyness very quickly. I've known you over the past couple of years. But for our listeners who maybe do not know you that well, I know that a lot of Korean listeners will be very familiar with you and your work. Let's get to know you a little bit, okay? So you actually have a degree not in fashion, but in English language and literature, which I guess would explain why you are so good at English. How and when did you make the jump to the fashion industry?
Yes, I studied English literature at the university, but frankly, I didn't enjoy that much. Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Charles Dickinson.
No?
Okay. But since my childhood, I was so sensitive about my outfits. So my first part-time job was when I was 13.
Wow.
It's a newspaper delivery.
Okay.
To buy a Nike sneaker.
So you volunteered to go on this paper delivery so that you can collect the money, earn the money to buy Nike sneakers at 13.
At 13, at the elementary school.
That's pretty early.
And so I liked reading books a lot. So I was impressed by the British Museum and English culture and especially military uniforms. As you might know, all the menswear fashion is originated from the English military uniforms.
Like the traditional suit, you mean?
Right. So I wanted to know more about the British culture and especially our wardrobe. That's why I majored in English literature. So my major is kind of a tool to my profession. And
was that your first job then? When you came out of university, you went directly into fashion right away?
Into fashion as a buyer.
As a buyer.
For the Italian brands, Armani.
I remember you telling me, though, that you became interested in fashion at a very young age, like a lot of designers and people who work in fashion, because of family influences.
Family influences.
Your grandfather.
Yes, my grandfather used to have a business in Japan.
Okay.
And also, my mother was born in Japan, too. They both love fashion. And it was 1930s in Japan. My grandfather used to wear a lavender color, purple color suit, bespoke suit with the white shoes. And
he was he was a very forward peppy at the time, I guess.
Yes, we call it a modern boy.
Yes.
And because of the family tradition, and when I was 4, my first bespoke custom-made suit was when I was 4.
4 years old?
4 years old, from my grandfather.
Wow, that's a photo I'd love to see.
Can you imagine the 4-year kids with a navy striped suits?
It wasn't lavender. It was navy.
Navy
okay. So, I introduced you as a fashion consultant, creative director. You've done many very, very different jobs and projects, all involving fashion. Some of the more interesting ones, I guess, could be something like working on film. You were in charge of Yoo Ah-in's wardrobe in that
Yeah,
great movie
yeah.
Veteran. You were also involved in designing various uniforms, maybe it's hotels or the Korean Coast Guard. So of all the projects, I know this is kind of a difficult question because you've worked on so many. Of all the projects that you have worked on, are there any that you particularly remember or that really kind of left an impact on you that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, now I run my own multi-brand stores. I'm working as a consultant with some fashion groups, and yes, I design a uniform for some high-end hotels,
Right.
and also I write a book like this.
You also wrote a book.
Yeah,
It's
like
called
book.
Classic in the Man.
Classic in the Man, 18,001. Please buy one.
All right, thank you. You're not going to give me that copy? No?
will.
Okay.
But yeah, since I'm not a professional movie costume designer, so for Yuain, we have some common friends. We have some common friends, so I had a chance to make outfits for him. And in the movie,
Yes.
he was kind of a classic villain.
He was. He has also become a classic villain.
Yeah,
Yes.
classic villain who
Yes.
is
Very well dressed, though.
yeah,
A
very
well-dressed
well-dressed.
villain.
super rich.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, super rich, extremely selfish,
Yes.
and violently rude. But I thought that villain could be attractive and stylish.
Uh-huh.
That's why I make him the stylish suit for him in the movie. And now I'm working for some real VIP customers as a stylist. So it's not difficult for me to make Yuain's outfit because my suit is real outfit for chapel.
Right.
And in the hotel business, there are some professional uniform makers, but I'm not a uniform maker. I'm a fashion designer or
Right.
creative director. So outside of hotel industry, maybe I can approach in a different perspective
Right.
because I think hotel staffs are not just the servants or the
Right.
service.
They're not just staff. They
Yeah.
make up they are part of the image of the hotel too, right?
That's right, exactly. So I think that I want to make the hotel staff as a nice interior of
Right.
within the hotel.
Okay.
So that's why they love my uniforms.
Alan, because I guess this is your first radio interview and it's also early in the morning, just a couple of things because these mics are quite
Sorry.
sensitive. They'll pick up everything. Maybe you just want to take a swig of your water as well, just to open up your voice a little bit more. We have a lot of questions that we want to cover, but as you were talking about Yoo Ah-in and also acting as a fashion designer for the chaebol and the hotels, which are kind of at maybe the forefront of fashion, let me switch to your assessment of Korean men's fashion, because as I introduced you, you are always listed as one of the best dressed men in Korea. You are well known for your deep knowledge of men's fashion as well. You are impeccably dressed today and every time I see you as well. So Korean men and their interest in fashion and how they dress, it's really changed, I think, dramatically over the past maybe 10 or over recent history. So how would you characterize Korean men's fashion? What do they do very well and maybe need a little bit of improvement on?
Especially for the European people, they easily compare with the outlook of the Japanese and the Korean.
Okay.
30 years ago, in Asia, there is only one fashion country, it's Japan.
Japan.
Korea is something like similar or the besides country of the China. Now it's changing. And with the before Korean men are that's too diligent, only work,
Yes.
devotion to the company or the family.
Right.
They didn't have a time to enjoy themselves or express their character. But with the increase of their income, time, information, it's gradually changing. And one of the reasons of the fashion store is to show them the right product and to explain them how to wear,
Right.
how to wear them with the proper occasions. That kind of information is necessary for them, not just this is on sale, this is on trend.
Right.
So it's changing. No more 은갈치 suit nowadays.
Ingat, which is a sort of a shimmery silverish
Right,
suit.
right.
They used to be very popular with
Used to
white
be,
socks, white
yeah.
cotton socks.
White socks in the suit or the black color North Face. No, black color, some kind of outdoor jumper in the wedding ceremony. No more. So it's not enough, but it's still improving.
Yeah. But they have made rapid improvements over the past, I guess you said like a couple of decades. I also read somewhere that Korean men in general, they have good physiques to kind of handle all these different looks. They tend to be quite tall and they have the sort of the broad shoulders to sort of soa, to take on a lot of these looks. Are there any maybe tips that you want to give to our listeners who, especially, they want to look kind of smart and professional, but stay cool?
And that's the paradox of something. Because let's say the Chinese people, Korean people, and the Japanese, out of that, Chinese people is like a little bit fatty,
They tend to be a little bit heavier.
and the Japanese is a little bit skinny with the shoulder like this.
Right. Rounded shoulders.
But Japanese people, they don't have a perfect body shape. So that's why they are trying to learn more about the fashion.
Right.
That's the paradox of the fashion.
I have read that. That's why Japanese fashion, especially the traditional suits and the Western style of clothing, developed so fast in
So
Japan
fast.
because they were trying to sort of overcome their physical.
Last year, I did visit Napa Valley, and I visited a lot of winery. I learned something. There is many places with a nice seaside, but the grape in a difficult position
Right.
is they're trying to get harder to
Yes.
get the moist and to get the
The nutrients from the soil.
right.
So it produces a better grape.
better wine.
Better wine and a
Yeah.
better grape. All right. So then you're saying Koreans, we're born with maybe, we enjoy the good soil then. We're maybe born with good sort of foundation. How can we maximize that? Any tips on how to maximize what we do have and stay cool and look stylish?
And we, like 조선 시대, we used to, our ancestors used to enjoyed a lot of fashions. And it was stopped at the Japanese colonization and the Korean War at that time. And now we are recovering in a fast way. But Korean men, we are very fast learner.
Yes.
So we can get any kind of information from everywhere and try to just enjoy. We don't have to get the nice reputation or the appearance from the others.
Okay.
Just to relax with don't criticize to someone.
That will be very difficult. Okay, I understand. So you're saying that Korean men should maybe more, they should experiment more, with different looks or what they like or what feels good on them. And they should also be more accommodating when they see those different sort of fashions too.
Because
Don't be so critical.
I mean, this is related to the system of the fashion because the fashion industry is in the time of overproduction.
Right.
Because normally average sell out of most brands is around 40 to 60% after the season.
Right.
At the end of the season, which means 40 to 60% of the overstock is piled up from every brands in every countries.
Okay.
So that's the reason of the overproduction in this time. So I think especially we should escape from the concept season. For example, a customer can buy a jacket or the bag from his or her favorite brands, and after 6 months,
Right.
the same brand is presenting another bag or jacket with a slightly modified design
Right.
or different fabric. Then the previous one, it would be automatically old one.
Yes.
out of date without any defects or problems.
Right.
That's the system to generate the business in the fashion industry.
But you think that that may be changing as we go forward?
We need to.
We need to change it.
And because a trend, there is always a trend.
Right.
The fashion people, they say, or the fashion magazine crew, they say a trend. But the trend doesn't have a reasonable explanation.
Right.
They just say, this is the trend. You take it, or you can be a fashion terrorist.
That's the fashion industry usually sending out that message, right? Talking about the business part, though, Alan, I know that you also have a physical store as well. How hard have you been impacted on a business front from COVID-19? And are you maybe changing your business model, like more to online? Tell me about how it's affected your business.
Yes, I have a store in Gangnam area for 6 years. We sell mostly Italian brands with the craftsmanship, and we carry tailor-made suit,
Right.
and we do some trunk show. Trunk show is kind of a small event with the selected customers, inviting Italian or other British artisan
Right.
for the shoes, for the gloves, suit, shoes, something like knitwear, something like that. And years ago, the artisans or tailor, when there is no shop, they carry a big, huge trunk with fabric inside
Right,
for the
right.
customer. That's why we call it trunk,
Trunk
show.
show.
But at this year, we couldn't have any trunk show.
Of course.
Yeah, and less customer visit from the local area. So I had to work on to make an online store because I used to have just focus on the offline store,
Right.
but now I need to make online store because online store is location independent.
Of course.
So in this pandemic, I think it's a reasonable way to keep the business. And it's going to be open within this month.
Okay.
So it's kind of a major shift from offline business to online business.
Do you also think that people are changing their purchasing patterns? Not only are they shopping more online, but do you think because of the pandemic, they'll buy less of what we call like fast fashion? I mentioned before that the Vogue editor-in-chief, Anna Wintour, said, maybe this will be sort of a return to kind of the old fashion of before, a slower paced fashion where we invest more in individual pieces, when we appreciate whatever we buy a little bit more, rather than constantly going for something new, like you mentioned. Are people buying different things, or are they buying in different ways?
But anyway, the casualization is a mega trend for
Okay.
all the fashions.
All right, so that's a major trend.
And that's obvious in the office too. Rather than the
If they go to the office,
yeah,
right?
rather than casual Friday and casual attire is an everyday practice.
Right.
And a lot of people is working from home due to the pandemic, and it's more casual wear, more comfortable and relaxed.
Yes.
Loose fitting.
I love
wear.
it.
Yeah. That kind of thing is more accessible to the current customers, I think. And also because of that, nobody's wearing a formal suit with a tie. Only some politicians, or TV newscaster, or bridegrooms, they're wearing a formal suit. But rather than that, the more knitwear.
Okay.
More knitwear with easy,
Comfortable, yep.
easy, just those kind of thing is replacing the traditional wear, like I wear.
Like you're wearing right now, a very nice navy jersey T-shirt.
Navy jersey, polo, knitwear with a jacket. This kind of thing will replace the navy classic suits. So it's changing like that.
Alan, we don't have enough time to go through all of the advice that you can give our listeners. Maybe you can come back another time. But for now, I want to thank you, Alan, so much for coming in early in the morning and for sharing your experiences and expertise. And unfortunately, that will bring us to the end of today's edition of Life Abroad.